let's move on to some of the JavaScript-y things. Now, I will say, like, everything that we have here on the page that's visual that you can see, what we need in JavaScript land is a piece of data that backs it. And so you have to have some sort of object that's going to represent, what is my hero? How much health do they have? What is their attack power? What is their, sword power? What's their range power? What's their magic power? What's their gold? And then we need functions to be able to update all those things. And then eventually we'll worry about writing functions that can come back and update the page as well. And so it's kind of that same idea that we were talking about with high-low and with rock, paper, scissors earlier. And that is, I want to build the game first to where I can just play it and I can see the data, and the data, yes, does what I want it to do. And that's all just kind of in the console, and it, maybe even looks a little bit ugly and blah, 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 but totally fine. It should work for us. Okay. Um, let's see if I can open this up here. Because now that we're going to get into JavaScript land, we probably want to open up our developer console. Okay. So I'm going to hit inspect. We're going to look at console. Okay. And we're going to be playing around with a couple of things here. Might zoom that out so it's a little easier to see up there still. But so let's go ahead and let's look at our game and let's think about Keldar. First and foremost, let's start with our hero because that's probably easiest. What type of properties does Keldar need? So if I were to do something like this, I would say let hero equal some curly braces. Okay. And then inside of here, I'm probably going to be like, okay, well, your hero probably has a name. Your hero probably has health. Your hero has gold. Your hero has all those things, right? And so let's represent all of this with data. So we're going to say the name. We'll start with Keldar. Maybe eventually we'll let the user change their name. Okay. Your current health is 10. Oops. Your current gold is going to start out at 0. Okay. Your, let's call it sword power. It's going to start at 1. Your range, or we'll type in bow, a little easier to type. Your bow power. Yeah, range attack, right?
Range, power, Power Ranger.
Power Ranger. Dang, Power Ranger. Your range power. We'll start that at 1. Your magic power is going to start at 1. Okay. So I have gold represented. I have Keldar's name represented. So everything that you see down here about the hero, we need to make sure that there's a piece of data up here that backs it up. Okay. Because if we don't have that, then we will never be able to build out a functional game. Okay. So that's my hero. All right. Now, let's do something very simple. Let's go ahead and say function upgrade sword. Okay. And to just get started, if I run upgrade sword, my whole goal is to make the sword power go up by 1. So before we worry about any other checks, before we worry about, do you have enough gold? Do you have any of that other stuff? I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I just want to say my hero dot sword power. Let's make it go up. Okay. And then if I come over here, I should be able to say, let's look at my hero. That's Keldar. Sweet. Let's upgrade the sword. And then if I look at my hero again, my sword power is now at 2. So I know, cool, I'm making the right steps forward, right? That is how I do that. Now, maybe maybe it should cost some money in order to upgrade your sword, right? So let's assume that the sword cost, we'll even create a variable for this. We'll say let sword cost equal 10. Takes 10 gold to upgrade your sword. All right. What can I write right here that will make it so this doesn't happen unless you have enough money or gold to pay for it? I need the computer to make a decision. How do we make the computer appear like it knows how to make decisions? Remember, that's an if thing. Yes, very good. If what? If whose gold? Yeah, I can't just say gold because the computer right now would just be like, dude, what do you mean? Like, if I just say upgrade sword, it's gonna be like, I don't know what gold is, man. What I probably want to use instead of just putting 10 here is I created this variable right here, sword cost. Because the idea would probably be once you buy one sword, the cost continues to go up and up and up and up. So I don't want to just put in a hard fixed number right here. I probably want to say if the hero's gold is greater than the sword cost, then let their power go up and let the sword cost go up by like 10. Yeah, that's set in stone. This would be like, yeah, every time you buy a sword, it goes up by 10 gold. So 10, 20, 30, 40. That wouldn't scale like super well, like down the road from a game standpoint. So you could do something like, okay, what if we just said it times equals 1.3? So now every time you buy a sword, it goes up 30% of whatever the cost currently is. Yeah, definitely going to want to put some rounding on there because there's a good chance swords were going to cost like dot, 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 right? 999999999 at some point, but we could definitely do something like this. So I'd probably do, since I am going to round that out, we could do what? Math.floor. So it always rounds down, and we could do 1 times the sword cost. Woo. That's a little crazy. That's a little crazy, especially for like, day 2 of learning JavaScript.
Math.4 is the round.
Yeah, math.floor always rounds down. Yep, math.ceil is always rounding up. Math.round works like actual rounding. So if it's 0.49, it's going to round down. If it's 0.5, it's going to round up. So I generally will round down. Actually, yesterday as we were doing high-low, I used math.round because I didn't want to have to explain the difference between floor and ceiling right in that moment. And you remember the one time that I played and 1 was way too high? That's because we rounded all the way down to 0. Yeah. So anywho, we have our sword thing. Right. And again, this is looking maybe a little bit crazy. Hopefully that's not too complicated. We could keep it real simple and just have it go up by 10 to start. That way we're not just like adding a whole bunch of extra code in here. But now if I say upgrade sword, and I look at my hero, my sword power did not go up, okay? Well, let's give myself 100 gold to start, and then let's upgrade my sword. Now let's look at my hero, and my hero's sword power is now at 2, which is great. And if we look at the sword cost now is 20, which is awesome. So let's upgrade the sword. And let's upgrade the sword. Let's upgrade the sword. Let's look at the sword cost. Sword cost is now 50. So let's look at our hero. And I think you just called this out. What is the problem with what we are currently doing? Yeah, the gold's not going down. So it's like, man, I got 10 gold and I can buy as many sword upgrades as I want, right? Because my gold never goes down. That's kind of lame. We probably want to make sure that our gold also goes down. And again, you have to remember the computer would have no way of knowing that your gold should be deducted by the amount of the sword cost, right? The computer doesn't understand the concept of a purchase. It's just, it depends on you, the developer, do all of those things. So should I do this? Hero.gold minus equals, let's make it go down by the sword cost. Let's look at our hero. Oops. So we look at our hero. My hero currently has 100 gold, right? Let's upgrade the sword. And now let's look at our hero. I have 80 gold. What? Why do I have 80 gold? Wasn't the sword cost only supposed to be 10 to start? What gives? Any idea? This is a gotcha, and this is a pretty common thing. Right here, I made the sword cost go up, and then I deducted my hero's gold by the sword cost. I did these things out of order, and because I did them out of order, it was like, cool, the sword only costs 10 gold. You have enough to buy it. So I make your sword power go up, I make the cost of the swords go up, and then I deduct you by the increased amount of that sword cost, which is like, no, that's not fair, right? You told me it was $10 and then you charged me 20. What type of nonsense is this? And really, that's just one line of code difference between a functional game and a completely broken game. This is just Alt or Option and up and down. If I hold Shift and Option, it duplicates the line. Cool. Now, if I upgrade my sword, whoops. Let's upgrade my sword. Let's look at my hero. I got Keldar. My sword power is up by 2 or up to 2. My gold went down by 10, and the sword cost is at 20, which is perfect. That's that next iteration, right? So I like that. I think that looks really good. Something that I don't necessarily like is if I don't have enough gold and I say upgrade sword, I don't get any type of like messaging that I can't afford that. So how could I put that extra little bit in that's like, sorry, man, you don't have enough gold. Any of my online guys? Let's log to the console. Crushing it. So, okay, console.log. And what's my message? Not enough gold. Whoa. Okay, cool. Let's test it. Let's upgrade the sword. Not enough gold, which is accurate, right? So cool. We look at our hero. Our hero has 0 gold. Sword power stayed at 1. All of that's fancy. Let's make my hero's gold go up to 100. So I now have 100 gold inside my hero. So we're going to say hero. And check it out. I got 100 gold. So I should be able to buy the sword. So let's upgrade the sword. Not enough gold. I have plenty of gold. Let's look at my hero. Oh, look at that. My gold went down to 90. My sword power went up. The purchase was successful. Why did I get the message, not enough gold? Yeah, we didn't write any. This happens every time we run this function regardless. Because the computer says, I will only do this if this is true. But I will do the thing that comes below the if. I will do this no matter what. Which now all of a sudden you're like, but it's not what I want. Not what I want. There's 2 ways of solving this problem. One is I can say if else, and I can put the console log inside of the else. So it's like, if you have enough gold, you're going to do this. Otherwise, you're going to do this. Okay. So now as we play this game, let's give myself 50 gold. And we say upgrade sword. Cool. I was allowed to upgrade my sword. I was allowed to upgrade my sword. Now I don't have enough gold to upgrade my sword. Still not enough gold. I look at my hero. I'm down to 20 gold. My sword power is at 3. I'm feeling perfectly happy about this. Okay. That's one way of solving this by using an if else. Another thing that we can do, this is called inverting the if, is we basically get rid of all of this stuff and we say, if I don't have enough gold, let's put in our console log and let's say not enough gold. And then let's return. And the thing about return is you have to remember full stop. This is a comment. This is like a note to developers. It's like, hey, computer, just completely ignore whatever comes after these 2 slashes. Leave that in there. As a matter of fact, part of commenting your code is leaving notes for other developers as to like what the heck all of this stuff does. So I don't have to spend like an hour trying to read your code and figure out what it does. I should be able to read your note and know what it does. So now the way that this function works is it says, do you have enough gold? If not, go ahead and tell them they don't have enough gold and then full stop. Do not proceed forward. This is what I would say is the preferred way of writing your code. If you can think about what I typically call your not cases, or AKA I call these the early outs. It's like when I go to write a function, I want to say, what can I do to prevent this function from being able to finish its job? Let me think about all the reasons why it shouldn't be able to do its job, and I'll handle all of those at the top. And then if it gets past all of those gate checks, right, gatekeepers, then I'm going to write the code at the bottom of the function to do exactly what it's supposed to do. And it will do that every time. Yeah, we'll call this a logic guard. All right. So logic guard, full stop, proceed no further. You don't have the right credentials. You don't have the right amount of gold. You don't have the right of whatever, right? Then the greater than as well, right? I would agree. I like using the less than more than the greater than check because I feel like it's a little easier to understand everything. So cool. We can upgrade our sword. Neat. And our sword cost goes up based upon 10. Let's go back to our times equals 1.3. Is there a good way to round that down after the fact? Or does it require 2 lines?
Well, no. If you do significant, that's you're getting a fraction of volts. Yeah.
So again, this is shorthand for math.floor. Okay, which is bizarro. This gets you into what's called bit shifting. We're not going to talk about any of that. But that is the same key as the back tick, but you hold the shift key. That's the tilde. I don't know how you actually say it. But if you use 2 of them, it will always round that number down. So just shorthand. So kind of nice. I'll go ahead and leave a note in for that as well. Rounding down. And again, I am going to build out the bulk of this just like this. I'm going to test everything here in my console before I worry about any of like the button clicking and the updating. And like at some point it would be really great is when you buy your sword, it changes this number. We'll handle that later. Handle that piece later. So upgrade sword. I like it. Let's go ahead and write another one that's pretty much identical for upgrading our range, right? Function upgrade range. Okay. We probably want to do something very similar. Call this our range cost. And then we will essentially do the exact same thing. So we're going to say if my hero.gold is less than my range cost, return, right? Otherwise, my hero.gold is going to go down by the range cost. Okay, my hero.range is going to go up. Ooh, this is range power. It's going to go up by 1. Okay, so plus plus is shorthand for plus equals. I could do plus equals 1. Okay, but I will use plus plus. And then my range cost is going to go up by 1 point. Let's make this a little different. We'll make this like 1.25. Times the range cost. Cool. I like it. Okay. Very, very similar. Slight little difference. A little cheaper to upgrade your range continually than it is to upgrade your sword continually. Okay. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to upgrade my magic. We're going to have a magic cost. And we're going to make magic a little bit more expensive. It goes up by 50% every time you buy one. So let's let the magic cost start out at. So it all starts out at the same. They all upgrade at different amounts. So let's test this. Okay. Very important to continually do your testing phases. Let's give myself like 500 gold. And then let's go ahead and upgrade my magic. And if we look at the magic cost, it's now 15. let's upgrade my magic. We'll do this a couple times. We'll look at our magic cost. It's at 49. So I upgraded my magic, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 times? Woo! Clear. My magic cost is at 49. So let's upgrade my range. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's look at my range cost. Yeah, considerably cheaper to upgrade your range. And then let's do the same thing for my sword. Upgrade sword. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at my sword cost. Sword cost is, yeah. So way cheaper to upgrade sword and range than it is upgrade magic. I think that's totally fair. But little things like that can build little like nuances into the game that make it a lot more fun. Now, hopefully your magic, is more effective against certain enemies and things of that nature. Like there's got to be some sort of reward other than just making it expensive. But that's all things that you'll have to take into account as you go to build out kind of the rest of it. So I like that. Now, let's get out of the concept of upgrades. So if I were to do this, this would be like my upgrading logic, right? And oftentimes this is helpful to do like, this is a section, right? This section up here is going to be what we would call like the data state, right? Or the game state. This is how much health do you have? What is the cost of all of that? All of those types of things. Down here, this section is going to be where we start doing our logic. So I use like a brain emoji here, like whoosh. Logic, game state. Let's think of a fancy emoji for this. This is like a book. It's just stuff that's written down because you need to store it somewhere. So it just needs to be written down so it can be referenced in your logic, kind of like that. And when we're not building games, we just call this state. It's just the state of the data. So if anything, we call it your data state. So kind of like that. I think that's pretty nice. We got our data logic. We got our data section. We got our logic section. We have upgrading logic as a subsection of the logic. Let's handle our ouchies. Ouchies. This is going to be like, I got hurt. Blood. Ouchies. There you go. Let's write a function that damages our hero. So we'll write a function called take damage. And what I want to do is, again, start very simple. We're going to say the hero dot health goes down by, so minus equals, let's just do 10. And then we come over here and we say, take damage. And I do this several times. And we say, where's my hero? My hero's health is at -80. Ugh. I mean, I just beat the hero quite a bit, right? So our hero starts off with 10 health. Oh, I was thinking he started with 100. You were right. We were way dead. So what I want to do is I want to probably put in some sort of check here where it's like, if my hero dot health is less than or equal to 0, let's go ahead and tell you console.log, you died. You dies. I like it. He dies. And now let's take damage. I take damage and I die. Cool. And I take damage and I die. And I take damage and I die. And if I look at my hero, I'm now at -20 health. And if I'm like, I just don't ever want my health to go negative because gross, right? Let's go ahead and say my hero dot health is equal to 0. So what that does is if I ever try to fall below 0, it just resets it back to 0. So now if I take damage, I can still continue to take damage, but when I look at my hero, my health never drops below 0. Again, kind of just a nicety. Now, we can take damage. Again, this is just a hard-coded number. Eventually, we're going to need some monsters, right? And those monsters are probably going to be the thing that are actually damaging us. And so we're going to need to kind of take into account, like, what is a monster? And do I have a list of monsters? Or do we have just a single monster? What I'd like to do right now is I'd like to say, well, we have a hero. Let's go ahead and have a monster. So very similar to what we set up on Tuesday morning, right? When we very first started this. We have a monster. Your monster has a name, maybe. We'll call him Gerald. Maybe the type of monster, he's an ooze, right? And he's got some sort of attack power. And his attack power is going to be, keep it simple to start, 1, right? Simple little ooze. Okay, now, instead of putting in here, I should just do monster dot attack power. So if we save this and we say take damage, all right? I take a lot of damage, at least like 10, before it tells me I die. Which is perfect, right? Look at our hero. We are dead. The health is at 0, right? Oh, my gold's at 500. All that wasted potential. My sword power's at 1, range power, all that stuff. Great. I like it. Now take damage. Just does exactly what it's supposed to do. I take damage. What about give damage? Function, we'll call this like, I don't know, I kind of like give and take. You like it? Let's do give damage. And we'll do the invert of what we did here. So I want my monster dot, no, my monster has no health. He can't die. Probably better fix that, right? Monster's health is going to be 3. Just start. Again, I'm just throwing in random numbers. I don't know. I don't care. I'll balance all this later. So monster.health minus equals. Now here's a question. Hero dot range power, sword power, or magic power? Oh man. Oh, I don't know. What type of attack did the hero throw? Because if the hero throws magic, he should probably take magic power. If the hero throws sword, he should probably take sword damage. Does that make sense? So, yeah, there's a million layers to every little piece. A million layers every little piece. So, how do we want to handle that? Right? What I would say is very similar to what we did with yesterday's lab, is I want to say, I don't care where you figure out you get the type of attack, but in order to give damage, you got to tell me which attack you threw. Does that make sense? And so do we remember off of yesterday how we handle that type of logic? We should take in a parameter, right? The parameter is the thing that we put in here between the parentheses, and we're going to say, like, give damage attack type or something of that nature. Was it magic? Was it sword? Or was it ranged? Because based upon that attack type, I need to give different types of damage. So let's handle this. Let's say if the attack type was sword, okay, and maybe we'll be fancy and we'll just use an emoji dagger. If the attack type is this, then what do we want to do? So monster.health minus equals the, what's that?
Has to be emoji is the argument.
Yeah, I like it. I think it looks good. So we're going to minus the sword power. Does that make sense? And then here we could say if the attack type was the bow, let's do monster dot health minus equals the hero dot range power. Okay. And if the attack type was magic, then the monster dot health minus equals the hero dot magic power. So I can give the damage. And this function is super cool because I can decide what type of damage to give later, right? And so just for testing purposes, let's go to my hero. Let's start the sword power out at 1. Let's start range at 2. Let's start magic at 3. Keldar is a wizard. He's a cleric, actually. I'm just saying, he is a cleric. But I should be able to test this. Let's see. Did I forget the closing curly brace? No, that was left over. All right. So if I say give damage, if I just press enter and I look at my monster took no damage because I didn't supply what type of damage I wanted him to take. Does that make sense? So if I say give damage, and I put in pair, I'm still not gonna make my monster take any damage because it's like, what do you mean? You attacked with a pear? When you threw a piece of fruit at him? Maybe you slowed him down. He definitely didn't take any damage. Yeah, no joke. As a matter of fact, you healed him. I'm gonna make his health go up. But if we say give damage and we pass in the sword emoji, and then we look at our monster, and his health went down to 2. Cool. So if I give damage ranged, oh, nice. And I look at my monster. He's dead. His health went down by 2. Sick. And if I give damage magic, his health should go to -3, right? Because I don't have any logic in there right now that prevents his health from going below 0. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we could put in another if statement right here. We say if monster dot health is less than or equal to 0, we'll say console.log. Woo! You killed him. And then we'll set the monster's health back to 0. Okay. So at least he doesn't ever drop below 0. So if damage, magic. You killed him. You killed him. You killed him dead. We look at the monster. His health never drops below 0. Right. It's perfect. I like it. Okay. So we can give damage. We can take damage, which is great. I like it. Now we solved our ouchies. We solved our upgrade logic. We need to solve one more piece of what time? We got 11. I'll come back and do that one in a minute. Let's do another easy one. We'll say this is our heal. Right? Good. Yeah. There you go. We heal by sleeping, and we can only heal in town. Okay? So let's do function. We'll call it heal. All of a sudden, that word looked really weird, right? So we'll heal, and we're going to kind of have the same type of thing. The cost of the inn, right? Let inn cost equal like 50 gold. It's just going to be a flat 50. Doesn't really go up. Just 50 gold in order to heal. Maybe it needs to be like 75. It should be pretty expensive to heal, I think. So we're going to say if the hero.gold is less than the inn cost, we're going to console.log. We're going to say, no way, dude. Get out of here, you bum. Right? We're going to return. You can't afford it. Otherwise, your gold is going to go down by the inn cost. We won't worry about increasing the cost of the inn, but we do need to decide how much your health is going to go up by. So hero.health. Let's make it go up by something random. Let's be like math.random. Because, you know, this is like a Souls-like game, man. It's gonna be really hard to survive. We're also gonna round down. So we'll do math.random times I don't know. How about 25? Okay. So you have a chance of regaining 25 health, and you have a chance of regaining no health. That's kind of cool. Also, could be kind of lame. You're like, dude, I just spent 75 gold and I had a terrible night's rest, and I only like healed 2 points of damage. Oh. I have as well. And I think it would be kind of nice to be like, all right, let's do this just so we can maybe put a little message out there. So let's do let heal amount equal this, and then we'll go up by the heal amount. And then we'll just console.log. You slept. Right? You slept for heal amount. Okay. You want a saw and a log? I gotcha.
That's the classic Bugs Bunny.
Yep. Yep. Saw. There's got to be a saw, right? Yes. Right. You slept for some sort of amount of health. Okay. Now, something that we will also need to do. If I come over here and I just say heal, you slept for 7 health. Nice. Let's heal. You slept for, whoa, that was a good night's rest. Right? 10 health, 13 health, 13 health, 23 health. Check out my hero, man. My hero's got too much health. I'm gonna say if your health is ever above 100, nah, man, like you can't rest more than 100. So it's like if the hero dot health is greater than 100, we're gonna say hero dot health equals 100. So now if I heal, what's my health? My health starts at 10. Better heal. 16 health, 23 health, 9 health. Sucker. That would really suck. 5 health, 9 health. Get out of here, you bum. Dude, I couldn't even get to max health, man. Hero. I'm up to 72 health for 500 gold. I think that's what I started at, right? 500 gold. Yeah, man, this game really is like a Souls-like. It sucks. Let's heal. Oops. Get out of here, bum. All right. So, I'm liking this. I think this is pretty dang good. We have a lot of functionality. Okay. I think we'll take a break here in just a second. We'll write one more function, and then we'll take a 10-minute break, and we'll come back, and we'll start tying all these functions into the actual page and see how much we can get done before noon. Last little function that I want to write, actually, I just want to make a modification here on give damage. This is where we get gold. What if we go to a monster and we say max reward, and we set it at like 10. So when you kill this monster, you could get up to 10 gold, but we're going to use another one of those randoms, and we're going to round down. So there's a chance you get no gold for slaying a monster. Yeah, you're slaying a bunch of I mean, they're monsters. Why are they carrying gold? So let's go ahead and say, so we're going to say let reward equal math.random times the monster reward, and we will round down. And here we'll say console.log, you gained, how about, let's use backticks on this one. You gained reward gold. Okay. Now, something we will want to also handle with this is making sure that you can't do what I'm about to do. I'm going to say give damage. And we are going to use our magic. Cool. You killed him. You gain 0 gold. Nice. Perfect. Let's kill him again. Nice. Let's kill him again. Let's keep killing him. That sucks. You're just like beating this corpse to death, and you're still getting gold out of it. Let's come here. And let's say if the monster dot health is less than or equal to 0, before you do any of the damage, we're going to say console.log and say, that's sick. All right, sick. We'll use pukey face. And we'll return. Oh, no, can't do that. So that is sick. So if I wanted to use the quote here, then I need to change this to the double quotes. You can just always run double quotes. What is funny though is like, that's sick. I would say like, stop beating the poor thing, he said. which all of a sudden, because he said it, technically you're supposed to put quotes around this. So, right, you can use the backticks for that type of problem. So, good reason to have like multiple ticks for that. There is also the escape character where I could have just thrown in that backslash and it says, hey, ignore this, don't treat this as syntax. But yeah, so there are multiple ways of handling what we just saw there. So let's give damage. You killed him. That's sick. Stop being the poor thing, he said. I don't know who he is, right? So we'll take that piece out. All right. But yeah. We'll even do like cool. So I can give damage. I can lock it away so I can't just continually reward myself. And like I said, we have a pretty working version of this game now, all in the console, all in the console, which means all that work we did in our HTML and our CSS is useless at the moment until we actually start tying everything together.